They say the snake that bites you is usually hiding in your own garden. I gave my best friend my home, my clothes, and my heart, and in return, she took my husband and my life. But the universe has a funny way of serving justice. Let me take you back to where it all began. 6 months before that terrible night, I was living what many would call a blessed life. My husband, Daniel, and I had built a beautiful home in Lekki, a mansion with golden lights that sparkled against the Lagos skyline. I had worked tirelessly to build my fashion business from the ground up, and it was finally thriving. We had everything: comfort, success, love, or so I thought. It was a bright Saturday morning when my phone rang. Sophia, the voice on the other end trembled. It was Laura, my childhood friend. We had grown up together in the same compound in Enugu. While I moved to Lagos and built my business, Laura had stayed behind, married a man who turned out to be a drunk, and struggled through one failed venture after another. Laura, is everything all right? She was crying. Sophia, I have nowhere else to turn. My husband threw me out. I'm on the streets with nothing but the clothes on my back. Please, can I stay with you? Just for a little while, until I get back on my feet. My heart broke for her. Of course, I said without hesitation. Come to Lagos. I'll send you money for transport. You're my sister. My home is your home. Daniel wasn't thrilled when I told him. Sophia, are you sure about this? He asked, frowning as he buttoned his shirt for work. You know how these things go. She comes for a little while and stays for years. Daniel, she's my friend. She has nobody. What kind of person would I be if I turned my back on her? He sighed and kissed my forehead. You have a good heart, my wife. Too good sometimes. I should have listened to the warning in his voice. When Laura arrived 3 days later, she looked broken. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes were faded and torn, and her eyes carried the weight of someone who had been defeated by life. I rushed to embrace her at the door. Welcome, my sister, I whispered. You're safe now. I gave her the guest room on the second floor, spacious, with a view of the garden and an ensuite bathroom. I filled her wardrobe with some of my clothes, bought her toiletries, and even gave her a little money to make her feel less dependent. Sophia, I don't know how to thank you, she said, tears streaming down her face as she sat on the edge of the bed. You don't have to thank me, Laura. Just focus on healing. When you're ready, we'll figure out your next steps together. In those first few weeks, Laura seemed genuinely grateful. She helped around the house, cooked meals, and even assisted me with some packaging for my business. Daniel warmed up to her presence, especially after she made his favorite egusi soup one evening. Ah, Laura, he exclaimed, licking his fingers. This soup is just like my mother used to make. Sophia, you should learn from her. I laughed it off, but I noticed something that night. As I cleared the dishes, I saw Laura watching me from across the kitchen. It wasn't a look of gratitude, it was something else, something calculating, but I shook it off. I'm just being paranoid, I told myself. I was wrong. Over the next few months, small things began to change. Laura started dressing differently. She would borrow my jewelry, my favorite gold necklace, my bracelets, and forget to return them. She began wearing makeup, styling her hair, and walking around the house in ways that felt deliberate. And Daniel, he started coming home earlier. Sophia, you're always working, he would say, a new edge in his voice. When was the last time we had dinner together? When was the last time you cooked for me? Daniel, I'm building something for us, I would reply, exhausted from long days at the factory and meetings with suppliers. You know this. Laura makes time to take care of the home, he said one evening. Maybe you should learn something from her. I froze. That night, I confronted Laura in the kitchen. Laura, I need to ask you something. Are you trying to take my place in this house? She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. Sophia, what are you talking about? I'm just trying to help. You've been so busy. and I thought I could ease your burden. By cooking for my husband every night, by wearing my clothes and jewelry without asking. She smiled a small, tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Sophia, you're stressed. You're imagining things. I would never do anything to hurt you. You're my sister. I I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew the snake was already in my garden. It all came crashing down on a Tuesday afternoon. I had a meeting cancelled at the last minute, so I decided to come home early. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Daniel's car was already there. Strange, I thought. He's never home this early. I walked into the house and heard voices coming from the study. I pushed the door open. Daniel and Laura were sitting together at the desk, papers spread out between them. My husband looked up, and for the first time in our marriage, I saw guilt in his eyes. Sophia, he said, standing up quickly, you're home early. What's going on here? I asked, my heart pounding. Laura didn't even flinch. She leaned back in the chair, cool and composed. We were just handling some paperwork, Daniel said. I walked closer and looked at the document. My blood turned to ice. Transfer of property ownership, I whispered, picking up the paper. Daniel, this is our house. Why is Laura's name on this? He couldn't look at me. Sophia, let me explain. Explain what? I screamed. Why is my company, my house, my life being signed over to her? Laura stood up slowly, and that's when I saw it, my gold necklace hanging around her neck. Because he loves me now, she said simply. The words hit me like a slap. What? Daniel finally spoke, his voice cold. Sophia, you've been so focused on your work, you forgot about me. Laura has been here. She's been taking care of me, listening to me, appreciating me. I staggered backward. So, you're throwing me out after everything I've built, after everything I've given you. It's already done, Laura said, crossing her arms. The papers are signed. This house, the business, it's mine now. I looked at Daniel, the man I had loved, the man I had built a life with. You're really going to let her do this? He looked away, and that's when I knew I had lost. That night, I stood outside in the pouring rain, my suitcase at my feet. I had nowhere to go, no family in Lagos, no close friends I could run to. I had poured everything into my marriage, my business, my home, and now it was all gone. The door opened behind me. Laura stood there, wearing my silk robe and my gold necklace, a smirk on her face. Goodbye, Sophia, she said, and then she slammed the door. I collapsed to my knees in the rain, sobbing. But even in that moment of utter devastation, something inside me refused to break. I wiped my tears, picked up my suitcase, and walked away. If they thought they had destroyed me, they were wrong. I was about to show them what I was truly made of. I found a small room in a modest compound in Ikeja. It was nothing like the mansion I had left behind, just a single room with a mattress on the floor, a hot plate, and a tiny bathroom. But it was mine. Every morning I woke up with one purpose to rebuild. I started small. I used the little money I had saved in a private account to buy fabric. I began sewing again, just like I did when I first started my business years ago. I posted my designs on social media, reached out to old clients, and slowly orders started coming in. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, nights I wanted to give up. But every time I thought about Laura's smirk and Daniel's betrayal, I found new strength. 6 months later, I moved into a small office space. 1 year later, I had a full production team. 18 months later, my designs were being worn by celebrities and featured in magazines. I didn't just rebuild my life, I built an empire. While I was rising, Laura and Daniel were falling. Without me, Daniel's business decisions crumbled. He had always relied on my insights, my strategy, my drive. Laura, who had no business experience, ran the company into the ground within months. The mansion I had once loved began to decay. The bills piled up. The golden lights went dark. And Laura, she realized too late that she hadn't stolen a blessing, she had inherited a burden. Daniel began to resent her. They fought constantly. The love he thought he had for her was just infatuation, and when the money ran out, so did his interest. One day he left, just packed his bags and disappeared. Laura was alone, in a house she couldn't afford, with a business she didn't understand, and a reputation in ruins. 2 years after that rainy night, I was walking to my car after a successful fashion show. I was wearing a tailored white suit, my natural hair glowing, my spirit unshaken. And that's when I saw her, Laura. She was standing by my car, looking exactly as she had the day she first arrived at my home, ragged, broken, defeated. When she saw me, she fell to her knees. Sophia, please, she sobbed. I'm so sorry, I was wrong. I was foolish. Daniel left me. I lost everything. Please, forgive me. Help me. I looked down at her. Um, for a moment, I felt pity. But then I remembered the rain, the smoke, the stolen life. I knelt down to her level and spoke calmly. I forgive you, Laura. I forgive you because holding on to anger would only poison me. But forgiveness doesn't mean I owe you anything. Her eyes widened. My
My table is for friends, not snakes. You can keep the memories of the life you stole because you'll never have the spirit that built it.
I stood up, got into my car, and drove away. I never looked back. Envy destroys the vessel that carries it. When you plot to steal someone's blessing, you don't inherit their success, you inherit their burdens, and you lose yourself in the process. I gave Laura my home, my clothes, and my trust, but she could never take my resilience, my vision, or my spirit. And in the end, that's what rebuilt me. Would you have forgiven Laura, or would you have left her in the dust? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, subscribe for more powerful African tales every week.